Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Don Jo. This is their part number D9175. This is a strike plate that you would use on a roller latch, except that it is an extended lip strike. And don't be concerned about the obvious, what seems to be an obvious scratched and pitted surface. That's just the peel away protective film covering the brass down below. Okay. This is made of solid brass, and this is what we would call a D strike, or more properly called a full lip strike, and is very common for use in wood frames. This will be 2 1/4 tall, and that's a size that goes along with a D strike or a full lip strike, even though Don Jo makes a 2 3/4 tall version of this, which not of a roller latch, but a 2 3/4 tall strike would normally be called a T strike because it's shaped like a T if you stand it on its end. I rarely sell that strike, and I can only imagine where you might use that. You might be converting a deadbolt prep in a frame to a latching style. You might have a wood frame with a 2 1/4, but you've got some damage up and below, above and below, and you're going to mortise that out. You know, that sort of concept. But in terms of a frame being prepped for a full lip strike that's 2 3/4 tall, that's not ever done. The overall width of this strike is 2 1/4. These strikes are always, however, measured from the center line of the screw hole to the edge of the lip, and that's 1 3/4. So that makes this about a 1/2 inch longer than standard. Standard's about 1 1/4, 1 1/8, 1 3/16. So this is a 1/2 inch longer lip length. If you had a casing that was a 1/2 inch thicker than what you would normally encounter, and you have a roller latch, this strike could very easily solve that problem. This is in solid brass and a polished finish. That's just what mill brass looks like, and it will include a couple of screws and a complementary finish. They're not brass though. They're just made of steel, and that's not a bad thing in the sense that brass is an awfully soft metal, easy to shear as you're putting that in. Okay. Now, there is some supporting documentation down below. Let's pause this video and take a closer look. So this is here indeed the item that we are looking at, a D9175. Be mindful that a 9175 is a very different strike from the D9175. So we're looking at a dimpled 9175 for a roller latch. They have the sizes 2 1/4, that's the height, and we know the 1 3/4. That is going to be and they do tell us here that the gauge of the steel is 18, which would be 50 thousandths thick, or quite nearly that. My caliper, when I put it on the strike itself, tells me, wow, that's good. 0.049 is what it is. So extended lip dimple strike, as we called it earlier with a D, dimple strike. Product brochure is here, and then the template. Let's take a look at the template first. Okay, and we have that template pulled up here, and you can take a look and see exactly what we're staring at here. 2 1/4, 1 3/4 center line, 2 1/4 tall. Typical material. Does refer to the fact that it is listed in the site in different base materials. I'm going to say possibly just 2 base materials, brass for 605 and 609, and then stainless for 630. And they probably are going to powder coat the 630 when doing the DU finish. And they can probably do this in black as well since it's powder coated. So it's likely they would powder coat the least expensive base material. Also a link to the, let's take a closer look here. Also a link to the product brochure. Okay, and this is going to be, let's see here now. This D9175 is probably in here because I'm thinking the roller latches are in here, but I don't see them. And I suspect what we'll need to do is look at a slightly different catalog from Don Jo. And let's do that now. Let's click here, the link here to the manufacturer's page. That will allow us to open up the strike plate catalog, and let's do so. However, I don't actually think these dimple strikes are in this catalog at all. and they may be just with the roller latches. Yeah, it's not in this strike plate catalog. And I suspect that it would be under their accessory hardware catalog. But I can tell you now that it's not going to be in there. We'll just open up the full catalog and find out what section it's in. Roller latch. Yeah, so this roller latch, you know, they don't list these strikes separately. But this roller, it's going to be used with, you know, the 1710 is really where you're going to see this used. Going to be used with a 1704. You know, I'm really tempted to say that it should work just fine with any of these, but it would be mostly used with a more residential style like the 1710. So, yeah, they don't have that listed really at all. Would it work for these ball catches? Yeah, it would. It would as well. You know, the dimple is not quite exactly where it needs to be in the sense that it's elongated, but that would make no botheration whatsoever. Okay, so we have gone over the item in its, you know, overview. Again, where are you going to use this? I said earlier, speaking about just thicker than average casing, you know, if you have, let's just say that this is a wood frame with an applied stop, okay? You have something applied out here that the standard lip length is really not going to work. So you need to get out over here. And if that dimension is about 1/2 of an inch, that's great. However, you end up getting to this point is how you get to that. Or whatever you end up adding here, whether it be trim, brick mold, applied textiles to a wall and a door, you know, back banding, you know, however you jam extensions. You know, for whatever reason you need more room, more lip length is where that's going to come into play. That link here to the manufacturer's page, that is awfully handy because as we've kind of already gone over, it will allow you to see the entire catalog, but then the subsections of the catalog as well. All the other Don Jo items that we sell are here starting on this page and can be accessed by this horizontal navigation. A link to the website is here as well. If you know the name Don Jo at all, you would for their latch protectors and their wraparound plates. But be mindful, they make a lot of other items. Hinges, ladder pulls, trim and auxiliary, things of that nature. Let's wrap up this video on camera. So the reason this doesn't show up in a catalog, you know, I can tell you that in 30 years, I think I've sold a half a dozen of these strikes, and that just tells me that, well, actually, I don't know how long they've offered this strike. It may be fairly new of an item, so it might, I don't know when they started producing the D9175. It may only be on the market for a year, and I can tell you I've sold about a half a dozen in the last year, so that might mean that we sell a lot. Check back in 5 years and we'll know. The name Don Jo is synonymous with a relatively petite footprint of material in the trim and auxiliary world. But again, latch protectors and wraparound plates, custom strike plates as well, like this. Good quality people over at Don Jo, fully invested in the entire process of the relationship when you work with them. So I appreciate that, and I say thank you to them. Any questions on the Don Jo D9175 and a 605 finish, or any other Don Jo product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please click subscribe as well, and even share the video with someone that you know. And if you have any questions for a future video, please send them our way and we will make every attempt to oblige. And thank you very much.